Hey, sorry, my grandson walked in just as I was about to come on. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Flak. I know it said in the notes that Melody was going to be here. She, at the last minute, just wasn't building up to it and contacted me and told me she wasn't going to make it. So I apologize if you were expecting to see Melody here. It's just me. Hopefully, we can have a nice podcast here and get some good information into your brains. Sorry, I had to adjust that a little bit. Uh, let's see here what I have. My little notebook. That's not too little a notebook. Uh, it came up this week that Rupert Murdoch is going to step down as corporate chairman of the Fox Corporation and News Corp. And he's going to hand over control to his son, whose name I'm going to try to pronounce, but if I'm wrong, I apologize. It says his name is Lachlan. That's my guess. It's Lachlan, age 52, and he will fill both roles. But his father is still going to stay active in the day-to-day operation of both companies. I'm not going to go into anything else but that. Let's see here. Oh, sad news. The Alameda County coroner has released the cause of death of 25-year-old Euphoria star Angus Cloud. Let's see here. Angus Cloud. It's so sad. He had struggled with his father's death just a week before he died, and our condolences go out to the family of Angus. In lighter news, although maybe not for them, Steve Martin has joined the group of entertainers that Miriam Margolis has bashed in her slow-selling book. I looked it up. It's not doing very well, which may be why she's playing up some of these things. Her book is called Oh, Miriam, Stories from an Extraordinary Life. Well, Steve Martin says that her version of the events, it was a scene in Little Shop of Horrors where he was supposedly going to hit her in the face. Well, it was staged and done. They practiced it in slow motion, and both Steve Martin and Frank Oz who were both present, say that he never hit her, and she claims that he actually hit her. And both of those gentlemen say that's not true. Now, Frank Oz, I don't know if you're familiar with Frank Oz. Frank Oz was a Muppeteer. He was also the voice of both Miss Piggy and Yoda. And he did the puppet work on the original Yoda before they went to CGI. And let's see here. It says that the reviews of her book have been very very bad, and that it has actually entered the discount section of almost all the booksellers. So that's how it goes. Drew Barrymore and Bill Maher. Let's see here. I have pictures of these people, some of them. There's Drew Barrymore. That's when she was crying on YouTube or Twitter. I think it was Twitter, about that she wanted to bring her show back. But she and Bill Maher have both walked back their decisions to restart their talk shows amid the news that talks have resumed between the WGA and the alliance representing the major studios. So perhaps this is all going to get over with. I will certainly be glad to see it over with. Here in Southern California, that's a real bad situation. I'll tell you, it really is. Alrighty. Usher has announced that he will headline the 2024 Super Bowl halftime show. And that, let's see here. And this will be his second appearance. The first time he appeared alongside the Black Eyed Peas back in 2011. And apparently, Kim Kardashian is going to have some role in this. I don't see where Usher needs her, but okay. Let's see here. Oh, this is really interesting news. Pat Sajak, who is 76 years old, has announced that the 2023-24 season will be his last on Wheel of Fortune. After 41 years on the show, he announced that it was time for him to go. And it was just announced yesterday that radio host Ryan Seacrest will take over Pat Sajak's role on the show. Seacrest, who's 48, says he has no plans to change anything. But he also noted that he can't spell worth a darn. So, but I don't think Sajak ever had to spell. That's kind of Vanna White's job. I don't think he sets up the boards or anything, so we'll probably still be okay. Now, Vanna White, who has been Sajak's co-host for all that time period, I'm pretty sure she was there all the time, will still co-host because she just signed a new contract. And Seacrest said he was looking forward to working with her. You know, the show, if you ever watched it when it first ran, when you won, you had to take the money that you won for that puzzle and spend it immediately on this rotating stage with prizes on it. That didn't last. They got rid of that, 1 or 2 seasons into the show. But I remember that when I was young watching that show, and that's how they did it. All right, let's see. What else can I tell you? Oh, we got movies coming out. Killers of the Flower Moon. That looks like it's going to be a big movie. It's directed by Martin Scorsese. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone, and Jesse Plemons. It's about a scourge of suspicious deaths of members of the Osage tribe in the early 20th century. It's going to play in theaters, and then once it's done in the theaters, it's going to be on Apple TV. And November the 22nd, we're going to get Napoleon. Now that should be an interesting film, with who they've got playing Napoleon, which is Joaquin Phoenix is going to play Napoleon, and he's an excellent actor. And Vanessa Kirby is going to play his wife Josephine. And now that is also going to be in a theater run and then be out on Apple TV after the theater run is over. Apple is investing in a lot of these theatrical films and then bringing them on board. Wonka is coming December the 15th. That's going to star, here it is, Timothy Chalamet. I hope I'm right. And this is the funny part. Hugh Grant's going to play an Oompa Loompa, which that should be Should be interesting. I mean, CGI, they can do anything. They can turn them into a dinosaur. It actually looks pretty good. I've seen the previews in the movie theater, and it looks pretty good. I think I might. I think it's going to do better than the Johnny Depp attempt at Wonka. That one, if you like the story of Willy Wonka, just see the original Gene Wilder version of Wonka, because that's the one you want to see. This other one, I don't think that's the world's best version of that story. Now, I have quickly run out of my notes, so we're going to be winging it for the rest of the show. Let's see, what was I going to say? There was something I was going to talk about. Well, I'm going to talk about this right now, and then it'll come back to me. I'll tell you, a movie, if you haven't seen this film, I rank it right up there with The Godfather as the best movie ever made, my personal opinion. And that's Lilies of the Field. It starred Sidney Poitier, and it lays the claim to being the first Black actor role that garnered an Academy Award for Best Actor, the lead role. It was an outstanding film. He plays a worker that's going across the desert. He ends up meeting these nuns, and the nuns are really struggling to keep their church together out in the middle of the desert, and they talk him into building a church for them. And he manages to get people to donate things, and he builds this beautiful little church for them. And they tried to talk him into staying because they really like him. They're German nuns, and only one of them I think speaks English, but and that was played by Lilia Scala. Now, it has a Star Trek connection. Those Star Trek fans out there. Stanley Adams, who was in the Trouble with Tribbles episode, is in this. And the score was written by Jerry Goldsmith, who you might know wrote the music for Star Trek, the original Star Trek. So there, I've got some information for you. Let's see here. Tell you what, let me pull something up here, and we'll go through this just as I read it. I apologize because it's when Melody has to cancel out at the last minute. Melody and I can sit there and talk about nothing for 3 or 4 hours, and it's fine. But if I'm not expecting it, then it kind of makes it a little more difficult. All right, let's see. Gisele Bundchen is talking about a relationship with Tom Brady following her divorce. What was that? Tom Brady that was married to the Playboy playmate? I'm not sure if that was him. Let's see. There's more about Usher. Olivia Rodrigo gets dating advice from an adorable child. Pick a person that looks kind. Okay. Some of this stuff's like, why would you bother? TikTok. I know nothing about TikTok because of the fact that Uh, TikTok, as you may not know, um, is a Chinese app, and it has been said that their app contains malware. So I've never put it on my telephone because of that. Because the last thing I need is to get more malware on my stuff because I've got enough as is. Let's see here. Sophie Turner enjoys another night out with Taylor Swift after suing Joe Jonas. Now, how is that an entertainment thing? I don't know. Let's see here. What else can I find to talk about? Like I said, I apologize. I should have had more information backed up here. Let's see here. Well, we got about to have some terrible scandal. There we go. You see, I'm searching with DuckDuckGo. That's my favorite place to find things. The Young and the Restless, CBS to air ET's 50th anniversary special for the iconic soap. Okay, that's entertainment tonight. They're going to have a special about their 50th anniversary. I think a lot of the actors have been there all 50 years, or some of them have anyway. Now, this is all stuff talking about how wonderful entertainment tonight is. Yes, I don't think you care about hearing about any of that. I already told you all of that. Well, anyway, so, I put something on Facebook. I put a note on Facebook about a gentleman that I met. His name was Jim Eskew. And it just shows you if you're in the right place at the right time, you can meet people that you really weren't expecting to meet. I was sitting at the car wash, getting my car washed, and there was a fellow in one of those little electric vehicles for handicapped people, and he was sitting in it, minding his own business. And my phone rang and it played the Mickey Mouse March because my daughter at the time was working at Disneyland. And we got done with our conversation, and he chimed up after I hung up. He says, your daughter works at Disneyland? I said, yeah. I said, yes. She's at the time, I think she worked in Fort Chawasity on Main Street. So I told him, and he says, I worked there for many years. And he says, I was the drummer for the Kids of the Kingdom, which was a kind of a Mouseketeer-like group of teenagers that sang and danced on the stage that used to be there in Tomorrowland, and then they moved them around other places for a while until they went away. And he was their drummer. And in addition to that, he said that all the drum music that you hear, I don't think so much anymore. It used to be you could hear it anywhere in Adventureland, and that he produced, he drummed that music. And that he had also been in the one that did the soundtrack for Disneyland Paris. So, very, very big part of Disney. And he was having a hard time talking because he had had a stroke not too long before that. That's what he told me. And he was telling everybody about it, not everybody, he was telling me about that. And he went into detail about different things he did and, working for Disney. And it's amazing stuff. And I unfortunately found out not too long ago that he had passed away. So I put a post on Facebook, telling the story of what happened. And it was amazing the number of people that knew him. And one of them forwarded it to his wife. And she was just overjoyed that, I had met him and told this story. So that just shows you if you're in the right place at the right time, all sorts of cool stuff can happen. Now, I'll tell you what Melody and I were talking about. She has these issues with her health, and it's nothing life-threatening, but it just makes it hard for her to sit here and do a podcast with me. So what I've suggested to her is that she, when she's feeling up to it, record a segment that I can include in every week's podcast. That way, when she's feeling up to it, she can do it, not have to worry about being here, she had to depend on whether she feels good enough to be here Sunday at 12 noon. She can do this on Wednesday at 8 o'clock in the morning if she feels, or 2 o'clock in the morning if she feels up to it at that time. And so I think that's a good idea. I think that will allow her to stay part of the group and not lose her connection to all of you, because a lot of the people that watch this podcast are her friends. And I don't know how much they like watching me, but hopefully some of them do, so they'll continue to watch. But I want to keep Melody involved in this because this is her podcast. This isn't my podcast. She started this, built it to its current status, and has kind of rebuilt it a few times when she had to walk away from it for a while. So, I want her to be a part of this podcast, if at all possible, if there's any way to do it. Because, I'm sure you guys know, or maybe those that don't, that's my sister, so that's my younger sister. She's my kid sister. So that's what's going on with Melody. Let's see, I'm about to have something else I can talk about with entertainment. Let's see, I told you about Lilies of the Field, and I told you about last week about that show about the making of The Godfather. And the name of the show is slipping my mind. But anyway, it's on streaming somewhere. I don't remember where I watched it. I watch so much stuff on streaming. I do. I watch a lot of sci-fi. Probably my favorite show. Well, Babylon 5. I'm currently binge watching. I don't know if any of you have ever seen Babylon 5. It's not quite the level of production value of like Battlestar Galactica, but it's pretty good. And because it was done earlier than Battlestar Galactica, it was done back when special effects were on Amiga, the Amiga computer, which most of you probably never even heard of. But they used to use two Amiga computers because those were the first ones that could address a pixel. Now, I don't know how many of you understand that, but it means they could make a particular one little pixel on the screen be a certain color. So what that allowed them to do was create special effects like CGI special effects before anybody else was doing it. And it's one of, if not the first television shows to have that style of special effects. The first movie was The Last Starfighter. And if you look back at the special effects on The Last Starfighter and Babylon 5, you don't want to blow Babylon 5 up to a 65-inch high-definition television because it's not going to look good. Watch it on your iPad. Although they have remastered it finally. That took a long time to get that accomplished. But it is now remastered. So you can get on Apple TV. And Apple TV has it. You have to pay for it. But Apple TV has the remastered version of Babylon 5. You can also buy it on Blu-ray. If you'd rather not pay them, you can buy it on Blu-ray and watch it there. But it's an excellent show. It's it's considered to be cursed because 8 of the main actors that were on the show, and keep in mind it wasn't that long ago, but 8 of them were dead. And a couple of them, unfortunately, OD'd. And Jerry Doyle and Gary Conaway both OD'd. Gary Conaway was Kowicki in Grease, if you're a fan of Grease. And he played Zach on Babylon 5. And Jerry Doyle played Michael Garibaldi, who was the security chief on Babylon 5. And we just lost Mira Furlan last year. She played Delenn. Fortunately, Bruce Boxleitner, who from Tron, and he's doing some stuff now, he's going to be at the horror convention here in LA, HorrorCon. So if you like him, go see him. I've already got his autograph. I went to a Babylon 5 convention in Burbank back, long time ago. And it had almost all there was a few that weren't there. Peter Jurassic, who played Londo, he had had a heart attack not too long before that. And he really wanted to go, but his health just wouldn't allow him to go. So he wasn't there. And let's see. And Richard Biggs had already passed by then. So he played the doctor, Dr. Franklin. And he died real young of an intestinal problem. I think it was the same one that the little girl from Poltergeist died from. That's another one that is said to be cursed, is Poltergeist, because there were quite a few deaths among the cast of that. That makes you wonder, especially Babylon 5, because now Andreas Katsulas. Now, those of you that are Star Trek fans, you're familiar with him, I'm sure, as Tomalak. And he played Jakar on Babylon 5. Great actor. He played the one-armed man in the Harrison Ford Fugitive film that was made. So, you may have seen him somewhere. Excellent actor. Excellent actor. I got to meet him. He was actually sitting at a table outside because he insisted on smoking, and they wouldn't let him smoke in the building. And unfortunately, that's what took him from us, because he died from lung cancer. Tim Choate, who played Zathras, he was at the convention. Another great actor, kind of a real different character actor. And he died in a car accident. That was not very long after that. uh, let's see, Peter Dawes, I think his name was, who played the head of the, what do you call him? The head of the psychics. It wasn't psychics, they called them something else. But it's weird. Little things from the show slip my mind, but that's what. But he was there. Uh, that's not quite his name. It's close, but I didn't look any of this up. I'm just off the top of my head remembering these things. Jason Carter was there, who played Marcus Cole on the show. I, I'm pretty sure he was British. If he wasn't, he did a great British accent. He was speaking with an accent at the convention, so I think he was probably British. But a real nice fella. He was very pleasant. And I got to meet Mira Furlan. She was there. She was right next to Bruce Boxleitner. The two main tables when you came in the door, they were sitting right there. So that was a great convention. It was people that I don't ever recall them doing another convention here. They did a lot of them in Europe, but not in the United States. Star Trek kind of dominated the convention, so you'd see all of, I went to several of the big Star Trek conventions. The Creation Con kind of took over Star Trek. They got it exclusively, but it was fun going to those. I met Max. Here's a name I have trouble with. Grundacek. He played Rom on Deep Space Nine. He was there as a fan, walking around, and I can't remember the fellow's name. He was burned in an accident and it altered his face. He was bald headed, and he played an alien in a lot of things. And he was in a lot of horror movies and odds and ends. I'm sorry about that. I'll come up with the name next week. I promise. So I tell you, I'm going to cut this a little short this week because I don't really have enough to talk about. I'll do a better job next week now that I know Melody's probably not going to be with us. I'll have 20 or 30 pages of information. So I have a lot more to talk to you about. I apologize for the quality of the show. I'll be more prepared for it next week. So I hope you guys enjoy what I gave you. I gave you about 34 minutes. So, like I say, I hope that's good enough. And I hope you'll come back next week when we'll be a full hour. I promise we'll be a full hour. So take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week.